Okay, Ferguson, Missouri. We've got, the police attacking protesters last night. There's been over 50 arrests since Sunday. There was originally on one day some looting. And so, I wonder who Fox News and some of the more strident right-wing Republican conservatives are going to attack. Not the libertarians, who were very good on this issue. Well, Steve King is, of course, going to go out there and make a mess of it, as he usually does.
Congressman William Lacey Clay of Missouri apparently concerned about, quote, racial profiling in Ferguson, Missouri. Does this help within the investigation, or does this suddenly become a political football in the hands of the Congressional Black Caucus?
It sounds like Lacey Clay is saying don't enforce the law. This idea of no racial profiling, I've seen the video. It looks to me like you don't need to bother with that particular factor because they're all appear to be of a single origin, I should say, continental origin might be the way to phrase that. But they're hyper insensitive on that. I just reject race-based politics, identity politics. I think we're all God's children, and we all should be held to the same standard and the same level of behavior.
What the hell is he talking about? So, first of all, he's seen the video. There's nothing wrong. Yeah, firing tear gas and rubber bullets at American citizens. I mean, they're from that continental origin, so it's okay. What's he trying to say with that? They're all from the same continental origin. Is he saying the cops are also black? Or is he saying, hey, we're all from North America, so what difference does it make? Come on, man. And he's all of a sudden, he's like, oh, what, are they saying don't enforce the law? Wait a minute, I thought you were the guy who claims to be in love with the United States Constitution. Have you read the First Amendment? I know you're not fond of education overall and knowledge and science and reading, but you could have at least read the First Amendment. Freedom of press, freedom of speech, freedom of assembly. All that seemed to have gotten abridged last night. I don't know, couldn't get past the continental origin, so the rest of it ceased to interest me, of course. So then we go to even more amusing territory. We go to Sean Hannity. He's on his radio show here, and he's going to explain the interactions he's had with cops. Oh, okay, great. Let's listen.
I don't know how you are when you get pulled over by a cop. I know how I am all the times. I don't want to hear your anti-cop diatribe today, Linda, because I can see it in your eyes. It's coming. But, when a cop pulls me over, I put my hands outside of the car. If I'm carrying a weapon, which I'm licensed to carry in New York, the first thing I tell the police officer is, officer, I want you to know I have a legal firearm in the car. First thing I say to the officer. He'll ask, where is it? And I'll say it's in my holster. He says, all right, just keep your hands outside. That's usually the protocol. And then he said, could I have your license and registration, please? Move slowly. And I often would even take my step out of the car, lift my shirt up so he could see where the gun is. And you handle it, yes, sir, no, sir. Writes me a ticket, yes, thank you, sir. And that's it. You battle the issue in court.
That's really weird. It turns out the cops are nice to Sean Hannity. Wow. Okay, so when you have a multi-millionaire, he gets pulled over and who's fairly famous on television, and the cops are like, oh, okay, hey, how you doing? Sure. Oh, you got a gun? No problem, Mr. Hannity. You go ahead and keep that. Now, let's see how it plays out. If you were in Compton or East LA and you say to the cop, hey, Mr. Officer, don't sweat it, but I got a gun in here. Oh. Now, do you think they'd be like, oh, is it permitted? Oh, you have a permit. Oh, it's in your holster. Oh, great. Don't worry about it then. Yeah, that's usually how it goes down. Isn't this guy incredible? Even if you believe what he's saying, the inability of him to escape his own context. He's like, well, the cops are great to me. I'm a super rich white guy. So aren't they great to everybody? You really think that's... And I think he does. I mean, I think to some degree he believes that if African Americans who were pulled over in Ferguson who say that the cops have been discriminating against them, harassing them for decades, if they had just been polite to the cops, none of this would have been a problem. If they had just said, hey, officer, no big deal, but I have a gun. I can't get over how stupid, ridiculous that sounds. Okay. By the way, this is the guy, all of a sudden, a lot of respect for authority and the government and the police. I remember when Cliven Bundy was having some run-ins with the police. Sean Hannity had him on his show all the time. Aren't the police and the government going too far, Cliven Bundy? Oh, that's outrageous what they're doing, right? When it comes to black people, all of a sudden, hey, bow your head. The cops are always right. Fascinating turn of events here. More from Sean Hannity.
Now, I know there are some bad cops out there, but I don't think that's the majority of cops that are going to work every day thinking that they want to kill somebody. They want to get home safely. They want to serve and protect the communities in which they work. Most cops that I have known go into being police officer, law enforcement work, because they're kind of called to it. Like some people are called into teaching. Some people are called into the ministry. But there are some bad apples, bad priests. There are some bad ministers. There are some bad cops. But you can't taint the whole profession because of the actions of a few. And I kind of have confidence in the law enforcement and the justice system in the country. And that is that if there's evidence and there's eyewitnesses and this cop went rogue somehow and lost it in St. Louis and that it's not as the police are saying, that the truth will come out.
All of a sudden, when it's black people protesting, Sean Hannity's like, what? The government's great. I trust them. The justice system's wonderful. I absolutely trust them. But look, again, from his perspective, yeah, the cops are very nice to him, right? But Sean, that's the whole problem. Those guys, a lot of them, unfortunately, view their job as protecting you and not the guys in Ferguson. But you can't get that through your thick head. You think, well, look, how they react to me, a multi-millionaire guy, is probably how they react to everybody. How can you not see that that's not the case? It's because you don't want to see it. Now, more of this Fox News slanting. I love this. We got a screen capture here of a graphic that they put on Fox News. It's of Martin Luther King, and they direct this in their news alert to the protesters in Missouri. Forgetting MLK's message. Protesters in Missouri turn to violence. Okay. I love when they use MLK as a pretense for make sure black people never do anything, don't protest. By the way, in this case, the protests for the 18th time today, okay, all have their hands up and they're chanting, okay, hands up, don't shoot. It's very similar to the civil rights protests, right? No, MLK would have hated those guys. Okay, you know how much MLK didn't like protests. Okay, but they're all turning violent. You tell me Fox News was around back then when the civil rights protesters were getting their skulls bashed in? They wouldn't be like violence in the streets. What are these black people doing out here? Okay, what are they doing? They made the cops do it. You know, somebody in the crowd was throwing a rock. I heard about it, right? You think they wouldn't have done that? Okay. Now let me tell you what Martin Luther King actually said. Here he is in 1963. He said, "You deplore the demonstrations taking place in Birmingham, but your statement, I'm sorry to say, fails to express a similar concern for the conditions that brought about the demonstrations. I am sure that none of you would want to rest content with the superficial kind of social analysis that deals merely with the effects and does not grapple with the underlying causes. It is unfortunate that demonstrations are taking place in Birmingham, but it is even more unfortunate that the city's white power structure left the Negro community with no alternative." It's almost as if he's speaking to Fox News through the ages and say, no, you knuckleheads, look at the underlying causes. That's the real problem. And please stop using Martin Luther King for your own depraved purposes. He did not agree with the conservatives at the time, and he certainly would not have agreed with you. So shut up about it already.